Hi everyone, I am J. Chandran J, Assistant Professor in Mechanical Department from Emmanuel Arasar JJ College of Engineering, Nattalam. Now I am teaching about the subject Process Planning and Cost Estimation. Here I am taking Unit 3, Introduction to Cost Estimation. The definition of cost estimation is defined by cost estimating may be defined as the process of determining the probable cost of the product before the start of its manufacture. So, the cost estimating requires the knowledge of the following factors for calculating the probable cost of the product. First one is design time, amount and cost of materials required, production time and time required, labor charges, cost of machinery, overheads and other expenses. Coming to the first topic, Introduction to Cost Estimation. Cost estimation is the process of predetermining the cost of a product or project based on available data. It involves analyzing technical specifications, predicting resource requirements, accounting for market fluctuations. So, cost estimation takes into consideration all expenditures involved in design and manufacturing, with all related service facilities such as pattern making, tool making, as well as a portion of the general administrative and selling expenses. So, the cost estimating under normal manufacturing organizations is performed by an experienced person called by various titles including estimator, cost engineer, product cost estimator, purchase cost analyst and manufacturing cost analyst. So, the cost estimating requires high technical knowledge about manufacturing methods, operation times, etc. As I mentioned earlier, design time, amount and cost of materials required, production time required, labor charges, cost of machinery, overheads and other expenses are the different factors for calculating the probable cost of the product. So, the importance of cost estimating include it is a very important for all organizations before starting actual production or filling up the tenders, because only accurate estimating can enable the factory owner to make vital decisions such as manufacturing and selling policies. Both overestimating and underestimating are dangerous for a concern. If a job is overestimated, that is, the estimated cost is much more than the actual cost of the product, then the firm will not be able to compete with its competitors who estimated the price correctly and loses the order to its competitors. On the contrary, if the job is underestimated, that is, the estimated cost is below the actual cost of the product, then the firm will face huge financial loss which may cause utter failure or closure of the firm. Therefore, a realistic and accurate estimating should be done. Hence, the staffs preparing estimates should be highly qualified and experienced. Coming to the importance of estimation, there are 4 different types of points or main important terms in the importance of estimation. First one is pricing, second one is budgeting, third one is feasibility, fourth one is cost control. The first one is pricing. Setting competitive yet profitable market prices is the meaning of pricing. The second one is budgeting, allocating funds for labor, material and machinery. That means the budgeting. The third one is feasibility. Feasibility means that deciding whether a project should be pursued. The final one, cost control. It means that providing a baseline for actual expenditure monitoring. These are the four importance of estimation. Once again I told, these are the most important terms of estimation, that is pricing, budgeting, feasibility and cost control. The next one is costing versus estimation. While often used interchangeably, they are distinct phases. That is estimation, carried out before production, that means predictive. Costing means carried out after or during production, that is actual. So estimation means carried out before production, that means the predictive term. That means predict before the manufacturing process. We can predict or approximately taken some terms of estimation in accordance with the manufacturing or costing before the manufacturing of the particular product. After that, costing means carried out after or during the production, that means the actual term. So the estimation sets the target, costing measures the performance. Once again I told that estimation sets the target, costing measures the performance. Coming to the next topic, elements of cost estimation. Total cost is typically broken down into three terms, that are material cost, labor cost, expenses. Material cost means raw materials and consumables. Labor cost means direct and indirect wages. Expenses means direct, example special tooling, and indirect means example rent. So components of cost also include prime cost, factory or works cost, manufacturing or production cost, total or ultimate cost, or selling price. The relationship between the above said components and the determination of selling price for a product will be taken as different terms in accordance with the equations used. So prime cost is equal to direct labor cost plus direct material cost plus direct expenses. Factory cost or works cost is equal to prime cost plus factory expenses. Once again I told, factory or works cost is equal to prime cost plus factory expenses. The next one is production or manufacturing or office cost, also termed as office cost. That is manufacturing cost is equal to factory cost plus administrative expenses. Total cost is equal to manufacturing cost plus selling expenses plus distribution expenses. Is the equation for calculating total cost. Selling price is equal to total cost plus profit. It is the equation for getting the selling price. That is, selling price is equal to total cost plus profit. The final one is market price. Market price, we can calculate market price equal to selling price plus discount. That is the important terms or elements of cost estimation or components of cost. The cost ladder, it includes prime cost, that means direct material plus direct labor plus direct expense. It is the prime cost. And the factory cost, already I told, prime cost plus factory expenses or factory overheads. Total cost is equal to factory cost plus administrative or selling overheads. Also total cost is equal to manufacturing cost plus selling expenses plus distribution expenses. That means selling price is equal to total cost plus profit. That is market price. Finally, market price is equal to selling price plus discount. That means market price. Market price is equal to selling price plus discount. So the total cost of manufacturing a product consists of material cost, labor cost and expenses. These are the three total cost of manufacturing a product. That is materials cost, labor cost and expenses. Methods of costing include job costing, batch costing, unit or output costing. Which means job costing means cost for a specific unit or job. Example, custom machine. It is the cost for a specific unit or job. Example, a custom machine. Also, methods of costing involves departmental costing, operating cost method, unit cost method, multiple cost method. The method of cost accounting adopted differs according to the nature of the business and types of products manufactured. The commonly used methods are, as I earlier said, job costing, batch costing, unit or output costing, process costing, departmental costing, operating costing, etc. The job costing means this method is concerned with finding the cost of each individual job or contract. Example, custom machine. A custom machine is the good example for job costing. In this method, the total cost for each order is obtained from the daily cost sheet. This method is adopted in job order industries such as shipbuilding, machine manufacturing, fabrication, building, contracts, etc. In batch costing is a form of job costing. Batch costing is a form of job costing. In this method, instead of costing each components separately, each batch of components is taken together and treated as a job. So, batch costing is used to determine the cost of a group of identical or similar products. Then, the process costing. This method is employed when a standard product is made which involves a number of distinct processes performed in a definite sequence. This method is adopted in industries such as oil refining, chemical paper making, paint, cement manufacturing, and other similar industries. Coming to the method of costing of next, departmental costing. So, this method is adopted in determining the cost of output of each department separately for the manufacture of the standardized products. This method is applied in industries like steel industry, automobile industry, etc., where each department is producing independently one or more components. In this method, the actual expenditures of each department varies components is entered on a separate cost sheet and the costing for each department is separately undertaken. So, the operating cost method is a method is used in firms providing utility services. Example, in transport services, waterworks, electricity boards, railways, etc., cost is determined on the basis of operating expenses. That is, charges are made as passenger per kilometer, per 1 meter cube volume, per kilowatt per hour, ton kilometer, etc. The operating costing is also known as service costing. Operating costing is also known as service costing. And the next method is unit cost method or output costing. This method is adopted by the firms which supply a uniform product rather than a variety of products such as mines, quarries, etc. The next final one is multiple cost method. This method is used in firms which manufacture variety of standardized products having no relation to one another in cost, quality, and the type of process, etc. I already told the methods of costing like process costing, operating costing, contract costing by means of continuous process and chemical refining, etc. Operating costing for service industries, transport, hospitals, etc. Contract costing means large scale projects like bridge building. The types of estimates include three types: conceptual or primary, preliminary, budgetary, definitive or detailed. The conceptual or preliminary method is the quick estimate based on limited data. Budgetary means for internal fund allocation. The next one is definitive. It means high accuracy based on complete drawings and BOMs. That means budgetary over machining processes. Here is the three types of estimation included for the manufacturing process of process planning activities and the cost estimation process. Step-by-step estimating procedures are 6 step-by-step estimating procedures are mentioned below. Here, first step is interpretation of drawing and specs. Second one is material requirement planning. Third one is determination of manufacturing sequence. Fourth one is estimation of time. That means labor or machine. Calculation of overheads. The final one is addition of profit margin. These are the 6 step-by-step estimating procedure. These are the main steps that involves in the estimating procedure, as I told earlier. Estimating material cost involves calculating net weight versus gross weight. That is, the equations involves in the gross weight is equal to net weight plus scrap or waste. Cost is equal to gross weight into unit rate. Consideration of purchase discounts and freight charges may be included in the estimating of material cost. Estimating labor cost can be calculated as total labor cost is equal to time taken into wage rate. I repeat, calculated as the estimating labor cost is total labor cost is equal to time taken into wage rate. Includes setup time and operation time, adjustments for allowance, that means personnel, fatigue, tool sharpening. These are the adjustments for allowance. Includes personnel, fatigue, tool sharpening. Direct versus indirect labor. The direct labor, which means operators directly working on the machine or part, and the indirect labor is supervisors, cleaners and maintenance staff who support production. So we can say that direct labor are the workers who actually work or process different materials either manually or with the help of machines. It means the direct labor. Direct labor cost can be charged directly to the job under preparation. I repeat, direct labor cost can be charged directly to the job under preparation. Indirect labor are the non-productive staff who helps the productive labor in performing their duties. All the expenditures other than the direct material cost and direct labor cost are known as expenses. So, the expenses can be classified as direct expenses, indirect expenses. Indirect expenses also known as overheads. So, the direct expenses are those which can be charged directly to a particular job and are done for that specific job only. So, the indirect expenses are those which cannot be charged directly to a particular product manufactured. So, the indirect expenses or overheads are classified into factory expenses, administrative expenses, selling expenses, distribution expenses. Once again, Indirect expenses or overheads are classified into factory expenses, administrative expenses, selling expenses, and distribution expenses. The various components of a cost are prime cost, factory or works cost, manufacturing cost, total cost, and selling price. So I already told about the components of cost and their equations. So coming to the next topic, allocation of overhead charges. Overheads are costs that cannot be directly traced to a single unit of product. So factory overheads, that means power, oil, lighting, etc., or office overheads, salaries, stationery, and the selling or distribution overheads means advertising, shipping. These are the three overheads costs that cannot be directly traced to a single unit of product. The next one is overhead allocation methods. There are three types of methods. First one is percentage on direct material, percentage on direct labor, prime cost method. Percentage of direct material means total overheads divided by total material into 100. The equation is percentage on direct material is calculated by the equation total overheads divided by total material into 100. It can be defined as the ratio of total overheads divided by, or it is the ratio of total overheads to the total material into 100. Percentage of direct labor is the most common for labor intensive shops, and the prime cost method is combined material and labor base. Overhead allocation methods also include these types. Machine hour rate, that is MHR, best for automated plants. Labor hour rate, used when labor is the primary driver of cost. Unit output method means allocating a fixed amount per item produced. These are the other three types of or different type of allocation, overhead allocation methods. First one is machine hour rate, MHR. Second one is labor hour rate, unit output method. Understanding depreciation. Depreciation is the reduction in the value of an asset over time due to wear and tear, obsolescence, or age. So, depreciation is the reduction in the value of an asset over time due to the wear and tear. It is a non-cash expense included in factory overheads. It is a non-cash expense included in factory overheads. Depreciation calculation in straight line. For a straight line, depreciation calculation is defined by D is equal to C minus S divided by N. C means initial cost, S means salvage or scrap value, N means estimated life in years. Assumes uniform value loss every year. Depreciation calculation in diminishing balance method, also known as reducing balance method, applies a fixed percentage to book value at the start of the year, results in higher depreciation charges in early years. These are the two main points for the calculation of reducing balance method or diminishing balance method. Applies a fixed percentage to the book value at the start of the year, results in higher depreciation charges in early years. Factors affecting estimation accuracy are incomplete drawings or specifications, unforeseen market inflation, human error in time study data, complexity of the manufacturing process. These are the factors affecting estimation accuracy. The role of allowances include setup allowance, personnel allowance, policy allowance. Setup allowance means time for charging tools or jigs. Personnel allowance means rest and personnel needs. Policy allowance means management directed buffers. These are the role of allowances. Total sales price calculation is calculated by total cost plus profit margin is equal to selling price, also known as selling price. Also we can say that selling price is equal to total cost plus profit margin. So selling price calculation is very much important in the cost estimation problems or some problems. It is very important to find out the selling price. So selling price can be calculated by the equation selling price is equal to total cost plus profit, or also we can say total cost plus total margin, profit margin. Total cost plus profit margin is equal to selling price. Profit margin is often a percentage of total cost or sales. Market conditions dictate how much margin is sustainable. Software in cost estimation. There are different cost estimation software that is to be used in the recent calculation methods by using software by the help of computer. So first one is ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Second one is Advanced Excel Modeling. Third one is Specialized Estimating Software. Example, Costimeter is the example for specialized estimating software. Integrated with the CAD for automated feature recognition is the new type of software by the integration with the CAD for the automated feature recognition. These are the main important software used in the purpose of cost estimation. First one is ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Second one is Advanced Excel Modeling. Third one is Specialized Estimating Software. Example, Costimeter. The final one is integrated with the CAD for automated feature recognition. The summary of estimating flow in the cost estimation with respect to the block diagram, we can see the correct way or correct steps in accordance with the estimation flow of cost. First one is design the product, and the next one is plan the required dimensions like product accuracy, dimensioning, benefits, applications, etc. like that can be planned, or customer satisfaction is very important for selling that product. So planning is very much important for all the cost planning activities. Then the third one is estimating material. Material is very much important for the estimating cost flow. And final, the fourth one is estimating labor. Estimating labor is very much important after the estimating material process. And then the applying overheads. Applying overheads means the direct expenses or the indirect expenses for the non-productive staff who helps the productive labor in performing their duty. The next one is depreciation. Depreciation is the reduction. I already told depreciation is the reduction in expenses, and the profit is taken back after the depreciation. Finally, the final quote can be got in accordance with the market price. That means market price equal to selling price plus discount. So indirect expenses also known as overheads. So the indirect expenses means all expenditures other than the direct material cost and direct labor cost are known as expenses. So the indirect labor are the non-productive staff who helps the productive labor in performing their duties. That is the difference between the indirect labor and the expenses. So the direct labor, also known as the workers who actually work or process different materials either manually or with the help of machines. That means the direct labor. Labor cost can be classified into the direct labor cost and indirect labor cost. So the labor cost is the cost spent to the workers who are directly or indirectly involved in manufacturing operations. So labor cost involves two types of classification. As I earlier told, direct labor cost and indirect labor cost. Best practices in estimation includes regularly update material price indices, conduct periodic time studies on the shop floor, review actual and estimated cost to improve future models. These are the best practices in estimation. So the updation of material price indices can be understand by means of customer satisfaction and customer need. So customer need is very much important for the manufacturing a product with respect to the cost estimation properties or activities involved in the different stages or steps. So we can say that in this competitive age, the successful industry is the one which manufactures the product with the minimum cost without sacrificing the quality. So the foremost focus on all the industrial enterprises is to reduce the cost of manufacture of the product. In order to achieve the concept of cost reduction, one should be familiar with the elements of the total cost of a product. So the elements of cost involves material cost, labor cost and expenses. These are the three important elements of cost which included in the total cost. So total cost involves materials cost, labor cost and expenses. In material cost, there are two divisions, that is direct material cost and indirect material cost. So in labor cost, direct labor cost and indirect labor cost. In expenses, direct expenses and indirect or overhead expenses. The indirect or overhead expenses is the expenses which indirectly got by the production by means of indirect labor cost. It is the wages paid to the indirect labor. Indirect labor are the non-productive staff whose staff helps the productive labor in performing their duties. In the indirect labor cost cannot be charged directly to a particular job but are charged on the number of products produced in the plant during a particular period. So what is meant by direct material? Direct material is the one which becomes a part of the product, is the material which is consumed in the manufacturing of a product. It can be measured by or measured and charged directly to the cost of the product. Direct materials are also known as productive materials, process materials, store materials, also known as construction materials and prime cost materials. These are the different names or different form of names called direct materials, which means that productive materials or process materials, store materials, construction materials and prime cost materials. These are the direct materials, and hence an example for direct materials are mild steel bar used to manufacture spindles, CA used for manufacture pulleys, wood used for making a table, plastics used to make a buckets, etc. So the indirect material cost is the cost of materials which are essentially needed in various shops for helping the direct materials to convert it into finished product. So what is meant by indirect material? The indirect material is the one which cannot be traced as a part of the product. It is the material required for maintaining and operating the plant and equipment but cannot be a part of the product. Examples for indirect materials are grease, lubricating oil used to lubricate the equipments, coolants used to control the job and the tool, cotton waste, kerosene, etc. So the best practices of estimation also include the labor cost. Also I told that the labor cost experience has shown that the labor cost contributes significant part in the total production cost. So the labor cost is the second important element of the total cost. So the labor cost is the cost spent to the workers who are directly or indirectly involved in manufacturing operations. So the labor cost can be further classified into direct cost, labor cost, indirect labor cost. So the direct labor are the workers who actually work or process different materials either manually or with the help of machines, as I already told. So the direct labor cost can be charged directly to the job under preparation. Direct labor is also called as productive labor, operating labor and process labor. And the example for direct labor cost are workers or operators working on various machines in different shops like machine shop, welding shop, foundry shop, carpentry shop, sheet metal shop, etc. So the expenses involves all the expenditures other than the direct material cost and the direct labor cost are known as expenses. So I already told the two types of expenses. First one is direct expense and second one is indirect expense. Indirect expense also called as overheads or overhead cost. So the direct expense means are those which can be directly charged directly to a particular job and are done for that specific job only. So the direct expenses are also known as chargeable expenses. So direct expenses are also known as chargeable expenses. Examples for the direct expenses are cost of preparing designs, drawings for the manufacture of a particular product, cost of experimental work done specifically for a particular product. So the cost of procuring or manufacturing special types of jigs and fixtures for the manufacture of a particular product can be hiring special types of patterns, molding, flask, dies, etc. So the best practices involved in the estimation of cost is to be taken by means of analysis of overhead expenses due to the different equations involved in the indirect expenses or overheads for the classification of four groups like factory expense, administrative expense, selling expense and distribution expenses. Factory expenses, it includes all indirect expenses which are incurred in connection with the manufacture of products, right from the receipt of the work order till it is completed and ready for dispatch. For the factory expenses are also known as factory on cost, works on cost, factory overhead, works overhead, production overhead, etc. Examples of factory expenses are expenses incurred on direct materials like lubricating oils, grease, coolants, cotton waste, etc. Expenses incurred on direct material, direct labor, that is salaries or supervisors, inspectors, sweepers, watchmen, timekeeper, driver, etc. So the cost of fuel and power, internal transport, etc. Expenses incurred on repairs and maintenance of plant and machinery, etc. are the examples of factory expenses. So rent, taxes and insurance expenses of plant, machinery, factory buildings, etc. are the factory expenses of example. Expenses incurred on depreciation of plant, machinery, factory buildings, etc. are the another type of example for the factory expenses. In administrative expenses, it includes the expenses which are incurred for general administration and management for efficient and proper functioning of the enterprise. So the administrative expenses are also known as office expenses and established on cost. Examples of administrative expenses are salaries of general manager, managing director, office superintendents, clerks, typists, labor welfare officer, personnel officer, medical officer, canteen employees, security staff, etc. Expenses incurred on telegrams, telephone calls, postages, stationery items, etc. Charges for electricity consumption, for light, heating and cooling, etc. Office rent and other expenses on maintenance and repairs of office building, etc. Expenses incurred on depreciation of office building, furniture and equipment, etc. Expenses incurred on legal charges, audit fees, insurance, etc. Traveling expenses for attending meetings, etc. These are the different examples for the administrative expenses. The selling expenses also incurred for the creating and enhancing the demand for the products. That is the selling expense. It includes the expenditures spent towards securing orders, creating and retaining markets for the products manufactured. The examples for selling expenses are expenses incurred on salaries of sales manager, clerks and attendants in the sales department. Salaries, commissions and traveling expenses of sales representatives or agents are the another one example for selling expenses. Cost of advertisement and publicity is the selling expense of is an example for selling expense. Expenses incurred for the preparation of tenders and estimates is the another type of selling expense example. In distribution expenses, these are the expenses which are spent for the distribution of the product. It includes the expenditure made on holding finished stock, packing cost and dispatching them to the customer. Examples of distribution expenses are expenses incurred on packing and forwarding, salaries of workers employed for packing the products, salaries of stores officer, storekeeper and their assistants, etc. Expenses incurred on loading and unloading, freight, welfare and transportation. So these are the 4 examples of distribution expenses. So the total cost of manufacturing a product consists of 3 types of total cost of manufacturing. They are material cost, labor cost and expenses. The direct material is the one which becomes a part of the product. The cost of direct materials required for the manufacturing of the product is known as direct material cost. So the equations involves 5 equations for the various components of cost. That is, I earlier said prime cost, factory or works cost, manufacturing cost, total cost and selling price. The first one is prime cost. Once again I told that prime cost, factory cost, manufacturing cost, total cost, selling price, market price. So the prime cost is calculated by direct labor cost plus direct material cost plus direct expenses. Factory cost is equal to prime cost plus factory expenses. Factory cost, manufacturing cost is equal to factory cost plus administrative expenses. Total cost is equal to manufacturing cost plus selling expenses plus distribution expenses. Selling price is equal to total cost plus profit. Market or catalog price is equal to selling price plus discount. These are the 6 mostly used components of various components of cost. So these equations are very much important for solving the different types of problems related to the elements of cost or estimation of cost. So The cost structure chart or ladder of cost, I already told, it has a block diagram or a diagram which involves direct expenses, direct labor, direct material. Also involves direct expenses, that is factory expenses, factory on cost, also known as prime cost. The administrative expenses, factory cost or works cost. Selling and distribution expenses include manufacturing cost or production cost or office cost. The profit involves total cost or ultimate cost for or selling cost. These are the profit cost, involves the cost structure chart, that is ladder of cost. The discount involves selling price. Selling price gives the discount to the customers in accordance with the product available or the business purpose. The market price or catalog price is the final price to the calculation of the market price in accordance with the equation market price equal to selling price plus discount. Finally, the conclusion of this unit is accurate estimation is the vital for business survival. A combination of technical knowledge and financial insight is very much important for the costing of material. So, cost estimating is the process of determining the probable cost of the product before the start of its manufacture. Simply, we can say the importance, aims, functions, procedure of cost estimation are discussed in this unit. The two types of cost estimates are preliminary estimate and final cost estimate. The three commonly used methods of costing are conference method, comparison method, and detailed analysis method. So the essential of competitive bidding and profitability is very much important. Okay, thank you.